President-elect Trump is naming Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be his health secretary. This tees up another major clash in these new cabinet wars, this one between medical science and a notoriously unreliable political activist with no serious experience as a doctor or a federal government official.
The media, as you'll see in a minute, they think you're stupid. They do not want what is best for you as a person or as a human being. They would censor in a heartbeat, and would have if Kamala won, opposing viewpoints as misinformation so that their narrative could go unchallenged. And even worse, they would have you, your children, your family, the American people sick and suffering so that they could continue to get rich and powerful off our backs, off our lives. The government isn't working for us, and we elected Donald Trump in a government capable of fixing those problems. An administration of competent and proven leaders capable of dismantling the deep state, medical, military, and media establishments who would protect our fundamental freedoms and get the government back working for the people again. We knew and voted for the team Trump assembled: J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, Ben Carson, and the rest. But they think the American people didn't think that Trump would deliver on this team. They think that we thought he was kidding. We didn't think he'd seriously appoint RFK Jr. as the Secretary of HHS. He's not competent. He's not a doctor. He's no, Assistant Secretary of HHS right now, Rachel Levine. He wouldn't really make Elon Musk in charge of government efficiency. They are melting down, but also proving that they are working against us, the American people, as you're about to see. I'm Zach Costello, and this is the Zach Costello Show.
If we took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn more easily. We'd lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer, genetic damage, asthma, and many of the other health conditions, as tartrazine does. And you know what's interesting? All 8 of those crucial steps forward in our kids' health were taken under President Trump. But the Democrats, who claim to be all about health care, have stood by watching other countries ban these poisons that make our kids sick, asthmatic, hyperactive, and depressed. They left them on every supermarket shelf in America. They even used your tax money to put them in your kids' school lunch. So their big food and their big ag donors probably gave them all that golden handshake and the big money hug. And their big pharma donors probably called them up and thanked them also, because now they're going to make billions selling Adderall, Prozac, and rescue inhalers. Enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children. Together, we're going to make America healthy again.
Enough is enough. Americans are sick and tired of being sick and tired as the media and government establishments get rich off of lobbying and advertising from big pharma, big food, big ag. We've been lied to, we're being poisoned, and it's affecting our physical and mental health and limiting our potential as human beings. It's also completely crippling financially, both for individuals and the government. We spend trillions of dollars every year on healthcare and have some of the worst health outcomes worldwide compared to other developed countries. This is a key issue for many American families, and we knew exactly what we were doing when we voted for Donald Trump and this team. In fact, Trump delivering on this promise is something that we expected of him. So when the media says things like this, watch. This is what you get.
This is what you get. Not to say that your concerns about inflation weren't valid. Undoubtedly they were. But by signing up for Donald Trump, you get this. Not only do you potentially get Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, but and you get Tulsi Gabbard, heading the national intelligence agencies, but now you have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. threatening to take away medical research, vaccinations, and even fluoride.
Here's one thing. None of this should be a surprise to any of us. The surprise is only those who didn't think Donald Trump would do what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to give Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a key role in health care. And the thing, Jonathan, that strikes me, we are just at the end of his first full week as president-elect. And he is moving so much more quickly and with so much more intent than he did 8 years ago when he won the presidency in 2016. Think about where we are now compared with where we were then. He's moved rapidly on making some of these key appointments. He's made some that are pretty broadly acceptable and some that have just raised the hackles around the country and certainly here in Washington, even among some Republicans. But it is a demonstration of how different I think this Trump term is going to be compared to the last one, where he surrounds himself with people he knows he agrees with him, who will not be challenging him, and with a much stronger sense of how things work in Washington and how to get done the things that he wants to get done.
Sounds good. They actually think it's a problem that Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. That's abnormal for a politician, isn't it? And he's moving so fast and effectively making these selections. It's almost like we knew who he was going to select. It's almost like he told us who he was going to select, and he's doing it? Wow. Yeah, duh, you idiots. We know this is why he was elected. We, the majority of Americans, want to make America healthy again. We want freedom of speech and the government out of our values and beliefs. We want government efficiency and elimination of waste, peace through strength, and no more wasteful foreign wars sending our soldiers to die and putting us into more debt. We want proven, effective, competent leaders rooting out the rotten corruption within our government, right? Well, they think this is incompetence. Rachel Maddow thinks this is an authoritarian attack on democracy. Listen to this.
Listen, we saw what was going to happen, and now it is happening. And so I do feel like this is a moment for people to get real and for people to stop saying, like, oh, this is going to end up being much more moderate than anybody expected. When are you going to stop? When are you going to start apologizing for saying that democracy was threatened? I mean, I think it's time to get real and realize that this is really what we're up against. But I also think the fact that we all feel a little bit, I don't know if flummoxed is the right word, sort of rocked by the increasing incredulity of these choices, is that it is meant to shock us. It's meant to adjust our sense of what is normal, what is possible, and to sort of so disorient us as to what it counts to propose governance in the United States that we're ready for the most radical pronouncements and actions. And I do think we're supposed to feel the way that we do right now. I think that's part of this. It's a shock and awe campaign against American traditions and mores. And that's, I think, how most of the country feels about it.
I mean, I think to sort of sustain the military analysis, the Iraq war starts with a shock and awe bombing campaign. The war is a catastrophe. I mean, it doesn't connote competence. It doesn't signal that he will succeed in successfully demolishing American democracy. It does mean that we as a press still, every single time, chase the shiny object. And this week, the shiny objects are named Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard, and RFK Jr. Next week, they'll be named, or maybe by 9 o'clock, they'll be named Steve Bannon and Kash Patel, and they may be running the FBI. Those are the shiny objects. But the movement is propelled by this hatred of the Democratic Party and the media elites, but also a promise to deliver on the economy, on immigration. And the people in charge of those two things, one of them is an alleged child sex trafficker, and the other is, by her own telling, a dog killer. I mean, the competence may be where he gets sort of bollocksed up.
Yeah. Real genius, competent tanks right there from our stud personalities over at MSNBC. But most importantly was this take on Greg Gutfeld last night. Gutfeld and the rest were laughing, celebrating, etc. The Trump win and the appointments as they were coming in. But then they were sobered by this very important based take from Tyrus. Listen to this. This puts a nice ribbon on everything that we've talked about today.
This isn't a movie. This is a war is about to. Let's hold off on the soiree and the partying because he's going to attempt to drain the swamp with this group of individuals, which means the fight that's coming back is massive because you are going to try to take apart an establishment who has fleeced the American people for generations. Yeah. Senators they're these career senators with their gold bars in their closets and their monies and being able to, cousins and first cousins and lobbyist sons getting jobs and places and being pushed to be in charge of energy in China or Ukraine. All of that's going to come to an end. And you think they're just going to be like, okay, you know? So it's going to be, if he's picking these people, every one of them has an axe to grind. And there's a reason for that, because this is going to be the fight for the American. It's one thing to get in, it's another thing to actually make change. He's got the House, he's got the Senate. So all this is great and we're all fired up. But if he walks in there and doesn't do term limits in that first week, because that's how you stop all this stuff. That's how you stop the career. You got to hit the term limits, and then you unleash the dogs, and then you find out how much money they've been stealing from the American people. Eventually, the people who donated to the Democratic Party to raise it up to $1 billion minus 20 are going to be like, they're going to find out that they were being conned by the government, by the progressive government. So that's not, they're just going to lay down and take it. It's going to be terrible. Pelosi's sad today because she's trying to figure out who she's going to take out first, who they're going to come after first. So he's smart in picking guys like Gates and guys because they're already flawed and they already have their issues, but he's coming for your job.
Yeah,
so it's game on, but be alert.
Yep. This is going to be a battle. And did you think that taking back our government from the deep state, media, military, and medical establishments would be easy? They are going to fight and claw, slander, lie, manipulate, lawfare, politically maneuver. You've seen it. We've seen it. By any means necessary to make this as difficult as possible for this Trump team to do. This giving the American government back to the people, make America great again, make America healthy again movement is a revolution. Enjoy the victory, which we just got. But now we've got work to do, and we've got a long way to go. I'm Zach Costello, and this is The Zach Costello Show.